Hey, this is Mike from Inputflow, and in this video I'm going to walk you through all of the new features that we have introduced with Inputflow version 1.3. First of all, we have added a new element selection panel. So whenever you select an element, an input, or a variable in any type of logic rule or validation or calculation, then now we no longer have this long and hard to use dropdown, but instead we have this nice selection panel right here. This element selection panel has multiple tabs. First of all, the inputs of the current step, then a tab with all inputs. So there you can select all inputs of the form, and then a variables tab. And this makes it much easier to navigate and find the element that you are looking for. Additionally, we have this search bar here at the top now. So if you have a large form with lots of inputs, you don't have to manually scan the entire list here for the correct input, but instead you can just search it. For example, if I search for training, then I find this radio group personal training session. The cool thing about this search bar is that this is not limited to the current tab. So for example, if I'm in the variables tab and search for fitness, then this will search all elements, not only the variables, but whatever elements exist in your form. The next update we've added to Inputflow version 1.3 is the progress bar. So inside of the Inputflow Elements Manager, you now can find these two new buttons here, Progress Bar and Progress Step. And with these, you can create really cool progress indicators. The easier one is the Progress Bar, because it literally takes one click. You select an element that you want to turn into a progress bar, for example, this blue bar here at the top, and then click on Progress Bar. And then the element will now be animated from a width of 0% to a width of 100% as the user clicks through the form. And the way this looks like on the live site, here I have such a multi-step form with a progress bar. And as you can see, as I click through the form, this progress bar here is animated to the right. And the progress steps work in a similar way. You can set them up in a similar way and they could look something like this. For example, here in this form, we have these progress steps here at the top. And now essentially whenever I click through the form, it jumps to the next progress indicator step. Or, I mean, you have full design control. This is Webflow after all. Here's another version of these progress steps, progress indicator steps. So here I'm in the cleaning type section of the form. And as I proceed through the form, then now I'm in the add-ons section, and the add-ons progress indicator step is shown as active. This makes your form easier to use for your website visitors because they know exactly where they are. For both the progress bar and the progress steps, you'll find a detailed walkthrough video on docs.inputflow.com. This is our documentation website, and also on this Inputflow YouTube channel. And that also holds true for all other features that I showed today. You'll find some documentation on our documentation page or on this YouTube channel. New in Inputflow version 1.3 is the formula calculation feature. So if we take a look at a step here, the step called local electricity price, and go to the calculation tab and create a new calculation, up until now, the way you would have to create calculations in Inputflow is you could select a variable, in this case the result variable, and then you could perform some type of operation on it, for example, result plus 10. And then afterwards you could add another action. Let's say afterwards you want to take the result and divide it by the electricity price, for example. So these types of simple calculations remain, and in a lot of cases this is the way to go. But in some cases you need something more advanced, and that is why we've added the new formula calculations. When you select as a calculation action in this dropdown the set to functionality, then you have now the option to enter an entire formula. And this unlocks a lot of potential when it comes to calculations. Let me show this to you in this step right here. You can see here we have a formula. So this form is a solar investment calculator, where basically you can calculate how long it takes for your solar investment to pay for itself. And here is this formula calculation. So instead of having a simple operation, I've entered an entire formula. So the result is the total system cost divided by the peak power times the hours of sunlight times the price times 365 times 0.4 times 0.75. You can go really crazy and advanced with these formulas, and you will also find a detailed documentation video on this YouTube channel and also on our documentation website docs.inputflow.com. So definitely check that out. Next up, we've added improvements to our regular expression function. So in Inputflow, we have a lot of different logic functions, equals, does not equals, contains, and a lot more that are not being shown here right now. And we've also have this advanced function called regular expression match or regular expression no match. And with that, you can use a regular expression to validate a field or to set up a logic rule. And up until now, only very simple and basic regular expressions were supported. So for example, no flags were supported. And now all types of regular expressions are supported. So if you have a valid regular expression, you can now enter it in here and it will automatically work. This is quite an advanced feature, so if you don't know what regular expressions are, don't worry about it. Additionally, we've made some improvement to our active class functionality for radio buttons and checkboxes. So basically, what you can do with this functionality here is you can define a class that is added to a radio button or checkbox and its parent element. That whenever the radio button is checked, that you can also style the parent element. This can be useful, for example, here we have this tiny house configurator. You can see I select a radio button, but it also applies a border color to the parent of the radio button itself. And this was possible up until now, but we've now improved this functionality. So from now on, what happens when you select a radio button in Inputflow, the isActiveCombo class will be applied to all associated elements of that radio button or checkbox. So not only to the checkbox and the parent, but also, for example, to this label element or to this icon. So you could style the active state of this icon right here or this label. For example, you could make it bold, or you can make this icon yellow when the entire radio button is checked. So that is just a small quality of life improvement, but that could make your radio buttons and checkboxes a little more engaging and interesting. And last but not least, we've added some improvement to our custom submit action. So right here in the form settings of Inputflow, you have this option to send data to a custom URL, so a webhook. For example, you can submit the form straight to Make or Zapier to kick off any type of automation that you want to run. And this is basically enabled by activating this checkbox, and then inside your form settings, you can then create a custom action URL. And for this custom action URL, you paste your Zapier or Make webhook. This was possible until now, but now we've also added support for this functionality in combination with custom success messages. So as you might know, Inputflow offers the ability to suppress the default Webflow form success message and instead use a normal Inputflow step as a success message, which can make the success message a little more interesting and gives you a few more options. And this is now supported in combination with this custom action as well. If I scroll down all the way, this is the custom success message, and you can now use that in combination with this custom action feature. Okay, that much about Inputflow version 1.3. These are our new features and functionalities. I hope you like them. If you have any questions, then leave me a comment or just send us a message on our support channels, support@inputflow.com. We're already working on the next version 1.4 of Inputflow, and this will also have a couple of really cool improvements. So definitely stay tuned and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mike. Have a great day. Bye.